let's get started our main topic of our conversation. So, our topic is your new hobbies. And I'm getting older, Kassy, and my memory isn't as good as it used to be. But if I recall correctly, it wasn't too long ago that we actually had a conversation about some new hobbies that you had, like making kombucha. But I guess when you moved to Thailand and you started this new life in Bangkok, maybe that was one of the hobbies that you kind of had to put aside as you moved. Am I correct with that assumption? Yeah, it was so sad. Actually, a lot of people make kombucha here too, but I didn't have any of my jars or my SCOBY, and it just felt too irritating to start it again. Yeah, I can imagine that. Those kinds of things are items that you don't want to really bring with you in an international move. So that makes sense that you would put that aside for a moment. But in the absence of that hobby, what have you started doing? Could you share with us some of the new hobbies that you've picked up? Sure. So, because of COVID craziness for the past several years, I haven't been super active. I think it's because I totally agree with the mask wearing, but it was hard for me to sweat with the mask on. So, I didn't really like exercise the last few years. I totally get where you're coming from. Throughout the pandemic, I still ran, like that's my hobby. That's my exercise is running, but it was really uncomfortable to run with a mask on. And thankfully now we don't have to wear masks outside in Korea anymore. So I can run mask free and it's much better. I think But yeah, I totally get why you would put exercise on pause for a little while. But you've started again. You're active now. Yeah, exactly. That's where most of my new hobbies come from. I joined this really cool multi-sports complex. It has as you might know from the name, a multitude of sports. It's got tennis, swimming, badminton, squash, racquetball, a climbing gym, weights. It's got everything. Wow, sounds amazing. So, have you been trying all of the different activities that are available there, or have you been trying all of the different activities that are available there, or did you become a member for one specific activity? Like, I want to play tennis. You like joined to be a tennis player, or is it kind of an exploratory time in your life where you're trying all of the different activities? Yeah, I really wanted to use the pool and the climbing gym, and my husband really wanted to start to taking tennis lessons. So we signed up for those three specifically. But once we started, we've you know we've been trying out all of the different sports. And I played badminton for the first time in, I'm not gonna say ever, but practically a decade, for the first time in a decade. And it was really fun. For the first time in ever, 난생 처음으로. For the first time in years, 몇 년 만에 처음으로. For the first time in a long time, 진짜 오랜만에, 너무 오랜만에. For the first time in a decade, 10년 만에 처음으로. For the first time in a decade, 10년 만에 처음으로. For the first time in ever, 난생 처음으로. For the first time in years, 몇 년 만에 처음으로. Nice. So when you play badminton, are you just freestyling it? Are you just playing for fun? Or are you trying to be really serious about learning all of the rules of the game and playing an official style game? No, we pretty much play for fun. We pretty much play for fun. We pretty much play for fun. 우린 거의 재미로 해. We pretty much play for fun. Pretty much. But we got all the gear. We got, the birdies, the shuttlecocks. We got the rackets. We have our own bag that we bring. What about a sweatband? Do you have matching sweatband or anything? We don't, but that is on the list, Andrew. Kassy, kind of interesting expression just popped up in our conversation a moment ago. When I ask you if you play for fun, what does it mean if we play a game for fun? Like you are just playing badminton for fun. What does that mean? It means that you're playing strictly for your enjoyment, not competitively or to win some sort of a prize. And usually when we play for fun, we don't keep track of the score either, right? Keep track of the score. 점수를 기록하진 않잖아, 그치? We don't keep track of the score either, right? Keep track of the score. Keep track of the score. Keep track of time. Keep track of the score. 점수를 기록하다. We don't keep track of the score either, right? It's not like I'm the winner, you're the loser. There's no competitive elements like that. You're just what do you say? What do you say? Hitting the birdie, swatting the birdie. What is the verb that we use for badminton? Yeah, I guess like hitting the birdie back and forth. Yeah, hitting the birdie back and forth. That sounds good to me. And you're not keeping score or determining who is the winner and who is the loser. You're not keeping score. You're not keeping score or determining who is the winner and who is the loser. Determine. 결정하다. 누가 이기고 누가 졌는지 결정하다. Determining who is the winner and who is the loser. Let's not determine who is the winner and who is the loser. Determine. Badminton is really fun. I'm glad that you're enjoying that game. I'm glad that you're enjoying that game. What else have you started? What else have you tried? 또 뭐 하고 있어? 또 다른 건 뭐 하고 있어? What else have you started? What else have you tried? The rock climbing. I didn't mention before. 내가 전에도 말했었는데 I didn't mention before. I didn't mention before. I mentioned before. I didn't mention before. I didn't mention before. I didn't mention before. I didn't mention before. 전에도 말했었는데 I've done it a couple of times in the past. I've done it 해봤어. I've done it a couple of times. 몇 번 해봤어. 암벽등반 몇 번 해봤어. I've done it a couple of times in the past. 예전에. I've done it a couple of times in the past. 예전에 몇 번 해봤어. 몇 번 해봤어. The rock climbing. I did mention before. I've done it a couple of times in the past. I've done it a couple of times in the past. But now we go, several times a week. We go several times a week. We go, several times a week. We go several times a week. 한 일주일에 몇 번 가? Several times a week. We go several times a week. We go several times a week. And it's really hard. 진짜 어려운데, but super satisfying. 진짜 너무 만족스러워. It's really hard, but super satisfying. I'm starting to get calluses on my fingers. 그러니까 손에 굳은 살이 생기기 시작했어. I'm starting to get calluses on my fingers. 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 내가 손가락에 굳은 살이 생기기 시작했어. I'm starting to get calluses on my fingers, which are, like if you do a lot of hard work, manual labor, your hands start to get kind of rough. 그러니까 손이 좀 거칠어지기 시작하잖아. Your hands start to get rough. 좀 거칠어지기 시작하잖아. Get kind of rough. Your hands start to get kind of rough. Your hands start to get kind of rough. 좀 거칠어지기 시작하잖아. Your hands start to get kind of rough because you're dealing with materials and you gain. How would you describe calluses, Andrew? 이 굳은 살이라는 걸 어떻게 설명하지? 앤드류 너라면 어떻게 설명할 거야? 어떻게 설명하지? How would you describe calluses, Andrew? How would you describe? 너라면은 어떻게 설명할 거야? How would you describe calluses, Andrew? 너라면 어떻게 할 거야? How would you describe? I'm having a hard time doing it. 이거 좀 어렵네. I'm having a hard time doing it. I'm having a hard time doing it. I'm having a hard time doing it. No, I think you're doing a great job. 잘하고 있는데? No, I think you're do a great job. No, I think you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. That's pretty much it. 그게 다야. 네가 설명한 거 그게 다야. That's pretty much it. That's it. 그거야. That's pretty much it. That's it. It's like when you do something physical, the skin on your hand start to harden. And I personally get calluses. 나는 개인적으로 기타 칠 때 굳은 살이 생겼어. I personally get calluses on my hands from playing guitar. 나는 개인적으로 이때 굳은 살이 생겼어. I personally get calluses on my hand from playing guitar. playing guitar. From playing guitar. Guitar. I personally get calluses on my hand from playing guitar. I personally. So because my fingers are touching the guitar strings, they start to become hard, and yeah, I could imagine that when you're rock climbing as well. You know, you're grabbing onto, well, it's an indoor rock climbing center, so you're not grabbing onto physical rocks. 그러니까 실제 암벽을 잡는 건 아니겠지만, so you're not grabbing onto physical rocks. 실제, physical rocks. 실제 암벽을 잡는 건 아닌데, you're not grabbing onto physical rocks. Physical. But you're grabbing onto those grips that look like rocks on the rock wall. And because you do that, 그리고 그렇게 자꾸 잡으니까, because you do that, 그렇게 하니까, then the skin on your hand gets harder. 점점 딱딱해지고, and it gives you some protection, right? So that you don't injure yourself. 스스로 다치지 않게 하고, don't injure yourself or cut yourself when you're doing rock climbing. It's kind of like our body's own defense mechanism against these things that could potentially cut our skin. Yeah, it also gives you strength and grip. So when I first started rock climbing, 내가 처음으로 rock climbing 했을 때, 내가 처음으로 영어 공부했을 때, when I first started studying English, 내가 처음으로 요가를 했을 때, when I first started doing yoga, when I first started rock climbing, when I first started learning English, when I first started, 처음으로 뭐뭐 했을 때, when I first started rock climbing, I was really bad. 나 진짜 못했어. 근데 지금도 잘하지는 못하는데 진짜 못했어. I was really bad. I'm still not very good. I'm still not very good. 나 진짜 아직도 잘 못해. I'm still not very good. I was really bad. I'm still 여전히 not very good. I'm still not very good. I was really bad. I'm still not very good, but 지금도 잘 못하지만 I can feel the finger strength growing. 손가락에 힘이 길러지고 있는 게 느껴져. I was really bad. 나 진짜 못했거든. 처음 시작할 때는. When I first started rock climbing, I was really bad. I'm still not very good, but I can feel the finger strength. I can feel the finger strength growing. 손가락에 힘이 길러지고 있는 게 느껴져. I'm still not very good, but 나 아직도 잘 못하긴 하는데, 근데 이래. I'm still not very good. 내가 처음 영어 공부를 시작했을 때는 진짜 못했어. 지금도 잘 못하긴 하는데, 근데 좀 편해졌어. When I first started learning English, I was really bad. I'm still not very good, but now I feel more comfortable with English. When I first started rock climbing, I was really bad. 나 진짜 못했는데, I'm still not very good, but 지금도 못하긴 하지만 I can speak English a little. 조금 말할 수 있어. When I first started rock climbing, I was really bad. I'm still not very good. 여전히 좀 못하긴 하는데 I'm still not very good. But 하지만 I can feel the finger strength growing and my ability to look at the rock wall and say, okay, I have to move my body this way and then I have to turn it that way so that I can reach that stone over there. It's really like a puzzle for your brain and your body. 이거 진짜 퍼즐 같아. It's really like a puzzle. Yeah, that's awesome. I think many sports are like that. 뭐 많은 스포츠가 그렇지. 다 그렇지. I think many sports are like that. But 근데 암벽 등반은 특히나 더 그런 것 같아. But rock climbing seems to be particularly like that. 특히나 더 그런 것 같아. Particularly. I think many sports are like that. 다 이렇지. 다 스포츠가 다 그런데 I think many sports are like that. 그래, like that. 그런 식이야. Are like that. But 하지만 rock climbing seems to 근데 암벽 등반은 이런 것 같아. 더 특히나 더 그런 것 같아. Rock climbing seems to be particularly like that. Rock climbing seems to be particularly like that. Yeah, that's awesome. I think many sports are like that, but rock climbing seems to be particularly like that. Particularly. I think many sports are like that, but rock climbing seems to be particularly like that, where there's a mental challenge and a physical challenge, and then on top of that, 그거 말고도 게다가 on top of that, you have this height challenge, right? 이런 어떤 높이에 대한 도전도 해야 되잖아. You have this height challenge, right? Because maybe it's not exactly the same if you're in an indoor gym. I guess it depends on how comfortable you are with the heights, but definitely if you're outside climbing, a mountain, climbing a rock cliff face on a mountain, then you have that fear of potentially injuring yourself or dying, even like it's a really dangerous sport. It can be if you don't take the proper safety precautions. It can be if you don't take the proper safety precautions. So you have all these elements going at once, which I think makes it so addictive for people who start the activity. Yeah, that's right. And also the community is really welcoming and nice. I feel like every time I go to the gym, there's people there who are like, hey, or I go, wow, how did you do that move? Can you show me one more time? And they say, sure, why not? So when you do rock climbing indoors, what kind of equipment do you need? 그러면 이렇게 실내에서 암벽 등반할 때, 실내에서 암벽 등반할 때 어떤 장비가 필요해? When you do rock climbing indoors, 실내에서 암벽 등반할 때 when you do rock climbing indoors, 어떤 장비가 필요해? What kind of equipment do you need? 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 개인적으로 12살 때쯤 해봤어. 그 rock climbing은. Personally, 해본 적이 있어. I've done indoor rock climbing. I've done indoor rock climbing when I was like 12 years old. When I was like 12 years old, 한 12살 때쯤 때쯤 해봤어. I've done indoor rock climbing when I was like 12 years old. So it's been over 20 years. 20년이 넘었지. It's been over 20 years for sure. 확실히 20년 좀 넘었지. It's been over. It's been over. It has been. It has been over. It has been over. It's been over. It's been over 20 years for sure. Since I've been rock climbing. 내가 rock climbing을 한지 한 20년이 훨씬 넘었지. 응? 아니, 확실히 넘었지. It's been over 20 years for sure since I've been rock climbing. So I can't really remember. 그거 잘 기억이 안 나. I can't really remember. 잘 기억이 안 나. 잘 기억이 안 나. 기억이 안 나. 잘 안 나. I can't really remember. 잘이라는 말이 들어가지도 않아. I can't really remember. I can't really remember. 잘 기억이 안 나. I can't really remember. I can't really remember. But you do need any specialized equipment? Do you need any specialized equipment? 그러니까 특별한 장비가 필요한 거야? Do you need any specialized equipment? 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 I'm sure it's not just like badminton. 그러니까 이거는 확실히 배드민턴 같은 건 아니잖아. I'm sure it's not just like badminton. I'm sure it's not just like badminton. I'm sure it's just not just it's not. I'm sure it's not just like badminton. I'm sure it's not just like badminton. I'm sure it's not. 아니잖아. I'm sure it's not just like badminton. 배드민턴 같은 건 아니잖아. I'm sure it's not just like badminton. I'm sure it's not just like badminton. It's not just like badminton. It's not just like badminton. 이거 확실히 배드민턴 같은 건 아니잖아. I'm sure it's not just like badminton, where you can just kind of have fun and go at it. 그냥 가서 즐기고 뭐 그런 거 아니잖아. Where you can just kind of have fun and go at it. You probably need some training. 훈련도 필요하고, need some training or some gear. 어떤 장비도 필요하고, before you can do it. 그거 하기 전에 할. You probably need. 아마 필요하잖아. You probably need some training and some gear. 그러니까 어떤 장비도 필요하고. We needed to buy a lot of stuff. 우리 좀 많은 거 사야 됐었어. We needed to buy a lot of stuff. We needed to buy a lot of stuff. We had to buy climbing shoes. 우리는 climbing shoes 사야 됐어. That are really tight. 진짜 꼭 끼는 climbing shoes 사야 됐고, we had to buy climbing shoes that are really tight, and they have a special rubber grip. 특별한 rubber grip도 사야 됐어. Around the entire edge, so that you can really dig your toes into the rock face. And then we had to buy harnesses. 그리고 harness도 사야 됐어. We had to buy harnesses to strap the rope to for in case you fall. 떨어질 경우를 대비해서 로프도 사야 됐지. 아닌데? harness 사야 됐어. 로프의 길. 그러니까 we had to buy harnesses to strap the rope to fall in case you fall. And we had to buy a belay device. Belay device도 사야 됐고, which is a thing that you thread the rope through the sticks onto your harness. And we had to buy chalk. Chalk helps your finger grip on the wall. I think that's it. 그거야. Maybe a bag to carry it all in. 그리고 다 넣어갖고 다닐 가방. Maybe a bag to carry it all in. Carry it on. carry it all in. Do you wear a helmet when you climb? 할 때 뭐 헬멧 써? No, I think if you outdoor rock climb, you need one. But indoor, it's not necessary. 필요 없어. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Not necessary. And you mentioned 언급했지. Belaying and the rope. I remember this word from when I climbed as a child. 이거 내가 어렸을 때 등반할 때 들었던 그런 단어로 기억하는데 I remember this word from when I climbed as a child. I remember this word. 나 이거 이 단어 기억해. 이 용어 기억해. I remember this word. I remember this word from 이때 들었던 걸로 기억해. When I climbed as a child. I remember this word. I remember this word from when I climbed as a child. When I climbed as a child. I remember this word from when I climbed as a child. But I don't really remember the meaning. 근데 그게 정확히 뭔지 기억이 안 나네. I don't really remember the meaning. I don't really remember. I can't really remember. I don't really remember. I don't really remember the meaning. I know it has something to do with the person. 어떤 사람이랑 관련이 된 거는 알겠는데 I know it has something to do with 어떤 사람이랑 관련된 어떤 뭔지는 알겠는데 어떤 사람이랑 관련된지는 알겠는데 I know it has something to do with the person who is holding the rope for you. 그러니까는 너를 위해서 로프를 잡아줄 어떤 사람이랑 관련된 건 알겠는데 Is that correct? Correct? 맞아? 그게 맞아? Is that correct? I know it has something to do with the person who is holding the rope for you. Is that correct? Correct. Well, there's two types of climbing. 두 가지 타입의 암벽 등반이 있는데 climbing이 있는데 there's two types of climbing. There's a bouldering and there's a rope climbing. 암벽 등반이 있고 그리고 로프로 하는 등반이 있어. There's a bouldering and there's a rope climbing. There's rope climbing. There's bouldering and there's rope climbing. There's two types of climbing. There's bouldering and there's rope climbing. So bouldering, you don't need anybody near you, far off the ground. So it's more working on your skills, your techniques of climbing. But rope climbing, you're attached to a rope and you're climbing a wall vertically. 수직으로 올라가야 돼. You're climbing a wall vertically. So you're pretty high in the air. And to protect yourself, you have someone on the ground. Who's your belayer? The belayer is also connected to the rope and their job is to make sure that if you fall off the wall or if you're done climbing, 너가 클라이밍을 다 끝내면 if you're done climbing, you've reached the top, then they are going to slowly release the rope and let you back down to the ground. So you need an activity partner to do this. 그러니까 이거 하기 위한 어떤 파트너가 있어야 되네. You need an activity partner to do this. It sounds like. 그렇게 들리네. 그런 것 같네. It sounds like. 그런 것 같네. It sounds like. A lot of gyms do have auto blaze where like it's automatic. You don't need a partner, but that's only usually a small fraction of the ropes in the gym. Nice. Well, that sounds amazing. I'm glad that you've got into these new activities. 이런 거를 관심을 갖게 돼서 너무 기쁘다. I'm glad that you've got into these new activities you've got into. I'm glad that you've got into. I'm glad that you've got into. I'm glad that you've got into these new activities. How is your climbing skill so far? 지금까지 실력은 어때? How is your climbing skill so far? How is your climbing skill so far? Have you made it to the top of any of the courses? Courses? Yeah, definitely. I know there's different standards. 나 기준이 다른 건 알아, 나라마다. 어떤 나라에나 어떤 지역에 사는지에 따라서 기준이 다른 건 달라. I know there's different standards like levels. There's different standards. There's different standards like levels depending on what country or region you're in. I think in the US they call it like 5 point. I don't even remember. 기억이 잘 안 나. I'm not a huge climber yet. 내가 아직은 그렇게 그걸 엄청 즐기는 사람이 아니거든. I'm not a huge climber yet. 5.8 to 5.12 maybe, or 6 point anyway. But in Thailand, they have the levels 5A all the way to 6C or something like that. So I can climb the 5C to 6A range, which is, it's not too bad. It's solid novice high level. It's solid novice high level. All of those numbers just went over my head. 그 숫자들은 다 그냥 내 머릿속에 그냥 스쳐 지나갔는데, 근데 네가 마지막에 한 말이 마음에 드네. I like the summary at the end. Solid novice high level. All of those numbers just went over my head. Just went over my head. Just went over my head. All of those numbers just over my head, but I like the summary at the end. 마지막에 한 게 마음에 들어. I like the summary at the end. Solid novice high level. Sounds like you're making a good start with your new hobby. 시작을 잘한 것 같네. Sounds like you're making a good start. You're making a good start with your new hobby. Make a good start with your new hobby. Make a good start. Kassy, I have to ask, have you ever seen the Olympic speed climbing event or event on TV or on YouTube or anything? I really haven't watched them much. 많이 본 적은 없어. 많이 보지는 않았어. I really haven't watched them much. I really haven't watched them much. But I would love to. 근데 많이 본 적은 없는데 보고는 싶어. I would love to. Now that I'm getting more into the sports. 이제 관심이 많아졌으니까 보고는 싶어. I would love to. Now that I'm getting more into the sports. Now that I'm getting more into. Now that I'm getting to the sports. Now that I'm getting more into. Now that I'm getting more into the sport, I think it would be really cool to watch some professional in action. Your socks are going to be blown off, Kassy. 엄청 인상 깊을 거야. Your socks are going to be blown off, Kassy. It's insane. So it's a race. You have two climbers climbing at the same time, and it's a sprint. They are like almost running up the wall to hit the bell and at the top of the wall first. So whoever hits the bell first, rings the bell first, is the winner. And they don't even look like people. They look like climbing monkeys or something. The way that they can climb so quickly is just absolutely incredible. So I definitely think once you see that 그거 한번 보면 maybe you will feel inspired and motivated to climb even more. 아마 그럴 거야. You will feel inspired or motivated. And another And another recommendation that I have about climbing is 그리고 내가 클라이밍에 대해서 또 다른 거 추천하고 싶은 게 있는데 Another recommendation that I have about climbing 이거에 대해서 추천할 게 하나 더 있는데 Another recommendation that I have about climbing Another recommendation Another recommendation that I have about climbing is there's this documentary movie. 게 있는데 그런 게 있어. There's this documentary movie called Free Solo. Have you heard of this movie? 이거 들어봤어? Have you heard of this movie? Have you heard of this movie? Have you heard of this movie? Free Solo? 아니 본 적은 없는데 들어는 봤어. I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but yes, I've heard of it. 들어봤어. 본 적은 없는데 들어봤어. I haven't watched it yet. 아닌데? I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it, but yes, I've heard of it. 들어봤어. Yeah, so there's a climber, an American climber. His name is Alex something. I can't remember his last name. 이름이 생각이 안 나. I can't remember his last name. Alex honey. I want to say, but I may have that incorrect. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. 내가 잘못 말한 거면 미안해. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. But this climber is notorious for climbing the world's most dangerous mountains outside. So he's on cliffs and his special characteristics is that he doesn't use a rope. Crazy. So he does all of these with no rope. And watching that movie, I felt like I was on the verge of having a heart attack. Heart attack. The whole time. So nervous and just panicked for him that he was going to lose his grip and fall off the mountain and die. But yeah, spoiler alert, he's okay. That's good. Well, Kassy, thanks for catching us up on these new hobbies. I'm glad that you're keeping yourself busy in your new Thai life. I'm glad that you're keeping yourself busy. 바쁘게 지내니까 되게 좋네. 이 말이구나. 바쁘게 지내니까 좋네. 잘 기쁘네. I'm glad that you're keeping yourself busy in your new Thai life. 그러니까 너가 한국에서 바쁘게 지낸다니까 기쁘네. I'm glad that you're keeping yourself busy in Korea. 아니면은 busy in your new Korean life. I'm glad that you're keeping 바쁘게 지내고 있으니까 좋네. I'm glad that you're keeping yourself busy in your new Korean life. Yes, it's been a really great adventure so far. That's it for now, but we will be back soon with another brand new episode, and we will talk to you all then. Goodbye.